I started working for the Democratic Party of Lane County this August as a communications intern. I started phone banking, canvassing, and entering data, all very traditional roles and duties for volunteers. Hi, is Evelyn there? Hi, Evelyn, this is Gina. I am a volunteer with the Democratic Party of Oregon. I was just calling today to see if you had gotten a chance to vote yet, and if you hadn't, if there's anything I can do to help make sure that you get to vote. When you would start talking, organizers would tell you to identify yourself as a volunteer. This is because volunteers are viewed by people who answer the phones as not having any special interests. They're not being paid, they're doing it out of the goodness of their hearts, and they generally will listen more to a volunteer than they will to somebody who is being paid, a staffer. Did you get your ballot yet? Are you having any troubles with any candidates or ballot measures, anything that I could clarify for you or any questions you had? We can send somebody to come by and pick up your ballot if you'd like us to. We would ask to see if they had gotten their ballot yet, if they're having any trouble, if they needed somebody to pick up their ballot, basically anything we could do to make sure that their vote counted and that they got to vote. Did you know when you'd be able to sit down and vote? Did you know if you'd be mailing it in or using a drop box? Do you know where your nearest drop box is? There's one on the corner of 26th and Hilliard. Yes, as long as you drop it off there, before November 8th, before 8 p.m., your vote will be counted. We would make a voting plan with the voter. We would ask them when they planned on voting, where they were going to vote, if they knew where their nearest drop box was, if they were going to mail it. This means talking to a voter and getting them to tell you when they're going to vote, how they're going to vote, and where they're going to vote. There's something much more effective than just nagging a voter to vote, telling them, oh, you better vote, oh, you better vote. If the voter comes up with a plan themselves, they're much more likely to follow through with it. It helps for voters to visualize when and how and where they're going to vote. Then they're much more likely to remember actually to vote. Okay, well, have a good day, and thank you for being a voter. Okay, have a good one. Thank you. Bye. We would always thank them for being a voter because that implies a commitment. That implies that they are going to vote, that they have voted, and people generally live up to the expectations that you give to them. So if you thank somebody for being a voter, they will continue to vote in the future. And the Democratic Party of Oregon always wants to encourage loyal Democrats to vote. The point of Get Out the Vote calls were to see if people had voted yet, and if they had not, make sure they didn't have any troubles with voting and to help them with that, and also to make a voting plan with them. Voting plans are one of the most effective ways to get a voter to vote. The job of the field organizer is not to call voters, but rather to call volunteers, so volunteers can call voters. One field organizer put it this way: he could spend an hour calling voters and contact 50 people, or he could spend an hour calling volunteers, get 4 volunteers to call people, and therefore in that hour he could make 200 phone calls. Volunteers are the powerhouse of any campaign. Field organizers know that in order for a campaign to be effective, they need a strong base of volunteers to make phone calls to voters to get out the vote.